They unearthed a shocking prophecy from the prophet Nathan that made King David weep. The moon hung low over Jerusalem that night, casting an otherworldly glow on the dusty streets. Few knew what truly happened that night. Whispers floated through the air, thick with tension, as if the very stones of the city held their breath. The temple doors creaked ominously, a sign, perhaps, of something monumental. David, the kingdom man of power, charm, and fierce determination, stood alone in his chambers. His heart raced, each beat echoing a mix of dread and curiosity. He had amassed fortunes, conquered nations, yet here he was, trembling before the words of a mere prophet. Nathan, a man with wild hair and piercing eyes, had delivered revelations that felt like daggers to David's soul. Words of judgment, of consequences. They hung in the air, heavy and electric, like a storm waiting to break. That it is you, David, who has lost sight of the covenant, Nathan had declared, his voice booming like thunder. Each word struck hard, igniting sparks of fear and self-doubt within the once unshakable king. The grand halls echoed with the weight of Nathan's prophecy. Shame washed over David like a cold tide. The crown felt like lead on his head. The glory of a king turned into a haunting nightmare. Time itself seemed to falter as David's mind spiraled into memories of his past. The faces of Bathsheba and Uriah flashed before him, each image a ghost haunting his thoughts. The moral paradox twisted in his gut, a knot he couldn't untie. Could he wash away his sins, redeem himself? Was there hope for a man who had everything yet lost it all in his darkest moments? Nathan stood there, eyes fixed on David, waiting for a response. The tension crackled in the air, palpable and raw. The world outside faded away, the bustling market, the joyful children. None of that mattered now. This was about a king, a secret left buried, and the truth unearthed at last. Could Nathan's words herald the end for David? Or might they spark a path toward redemption? The temple bells rang out, a stark reminder of the unrelenting passage of time. What would David choose? Would he embrace the chance for change, or retreat into the shadows of his regrets? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. David felt the air grow thick with anticipation, like the moments before a storm. He stood, wrestling with the weight of Nathan's words, feeling their burn deep within his soul. How could he, a man after God's own heart, have strayed so far from the light? The shadows of his actions danced around him, taunting him. It was in that poignant silence that a still small voice beckoned, whispering of repentance and the possibility of grace. After what felt like an eternity, David turned to Nathan, his voice trembling as if the very foundations of his being were cracking. What is to be done, Nathan? Is there no way to mend what I have broken? The vulnerability in his tone was profound, reverberating through the quiet chamber like a prayer. Nathan, perceiving the raw honesty in David's eyes, took a step closer. The Lord desires a contrite heart, he said softly, not sacrifices. It is not too late, David. There is a path, though it is fraught with humility and acknowledgement of your failings. The prophet's gaze was piercing yet compassionate, a reminder of the immense responsibility that came with power. As the weight of responsibility bore down on David, memories of his past battles surged within him. Every scar, every victory eerily juxtaposed against the turmoil within his heart. How could he lead a nation through the trials of life when he himself was lost amid his own sins? Doubts coursed through him like arrows aimed at a wounded soldier. Will the people still follow a king so flawed? Before he could respond, a commotion erupted outside, drawing their attention. Curious, David approached the window, peering down into the streets below. A throng of citizens had gathered, their voices rising like a chorus of desperation. They were chanting his name, yet he felt no honor. Instead, their fervor only magnified his shame. The faces of those who praised him were now shrouded in the darkness of his deeds. One voicey girl, perhaps no older than 12 rows above the din, echoing an ancient song of deliverance. David, a man after God's own heart. She sang, her tone innocent and hopeful, oblivious to the shadows that clung to his spirit. David, come back to us. Her simplicity struck a chord deep within him. Was he still worthy of such hope and admiration? But shadows had their own ways of creeping in, and a flicker of fear burrowed into David's heart. He knew the weight of his actions could shatter much more than his own soul. The lineage of Israel, the very heart of the covenant, hinged on the choices he would make in these fleeting moments. What if I am too far gone? He questioned the air around them, seeking divine wisdom. Could there be redemption in the aftermath of his failures? The space between him and Nathan expanded, pulsing with unanswered questions and the deep ache of possibility. Nathan's presence anchored him, grounding his spiraling thoughts. We are all but vessels for God's message, David. Even broken vessels can hold the richest wine. You must decide whose voice you will follow, whispers of the enemy that revel in shame, or the truth that leads to restoration. A flood of thoughts rushed through David's mind. What if the people were right? What if the cries for his return were also echoes of their need for a leader who could embody humility and grace, rather than just might and triumph? Yet, what would it take to rebuild the trust he had shattered? In that flickering moment of clarity, David lifted his gaze, feeling the heavy burden shift ever so slightly. He turned back to Nathan, determination mingling with uncertainty. Tell me, what must I do? How can I take the first step into the light again? Yet, even as the words left his lips, doubt crept in. Was the path to redemption as simple as asking? Would the voice that echoed back through time carry the weight of his choices? The temple bells tolled harshly, drowning out his thoughts and pulling him back into the present moment. Echoing louder in his heart was the question: could a man, once beloved, truly be restored after straying from the divine covenant? Or was this the beginning of a deeper betrayal, one that could reverberate through generations yet to come? As the echoes of David's question faded, Nathan stood still, as if the air around him thickened with the weight of divine revelation. The soft flicker of oil lamps illuminated the chamber, casting shadows that danced like memories of the past. David remained poised on the precipice of desperation, a warrior now disarmed by the turmoil within. Nathan took a deep breath, his voice low and solemn, reverberating with the authority of the Lord. The Lord has made known to me a prophecy, one that weighs heavily upon me. You must listen, for it speaks not just of your life, but of the fate of your kingdom. His piercing gaze bore into David, as if trying to look beyond the facade of a king and into the fractured soul within. David tensed, the implications of Nathan's words hanging unsteady in the air. He nodded, urging Nathan to continue, fearing yet craving the truth. What is this prophecy? What must I do to avert the darkness that threatens to devour us? The Lord has decreed that your house will be a house of conflict and strife, Nathan said, his voice trembling slightly. Your sin has sown seeds that will bear bitter fruit. Violence will arise from within your own family. There will be sorrow you have never known, for you have turned your eyes from righteousness. The weight of Nathan's words struck David like a thunderclap, raw and unapologetic. My family? He whispered, his heart pounding. The thought of his beloved children embroiled in chaos sent shivers through him. Why such fate for them? What will become of my legacy, Nathan? Your legacy will reflect your heart, David. Nathan replied gently, the compassion in his voice a flicker of hope amidst the despair. Yet, there is a promise buried within this sorrow. Though the path is clouded, the Lord has not forsaken you. Repentance is a powerful balm, capable of restoring what has been lost. It is not too late to reshape your reign, to regain the trust of your people. The turmoil within David churned, an unending tempest. He thought of all he had sacrificed for his position, the battles fought, the sweat and blood that crowned his victories. Yet with every passing moment, it felt as if those victories became ashes in his mouth, hollow as they echoed through his memory. But how can I lead, knowing the pain I have caused? How can I stand before my people as a king worthy of their trust when I am riddled with shame? Nathan stepped closer, his presence enveloping David like a comforting shroud. It is not your perfection they seek, but your sincerity. They yearn for a leader who understands their suffering. When you share your trials, your quest for restoration, they may see themselves reflected in you. Your weakness can become a doorway to their strength. Hearing those words, a flicker of hope ignited in David's heart the faint notion that he could find purpose even in his brokenness. But what of the violence destined to come upon my house? Can I wrestle with fate and alter its course? That remains to be seen, for the choice lies in your hands, Nathan answered, the gravity of his words heavy with divine insight. Each decision you make hereafter will ripple through time, shaping not only your destiny, but the destiny of the throne and the generations that follow. Choose wisely. Choose humility. Allow your heart to be softened. David's eyes glistened with unshed tears, wrestling with the profound truth of Nathan's revelation. Would he dare to bare his soul before his people, to share the burden of his shame? He mused upon the thought, wrestling with the